Welcome back to BNC, everyone. We've been talking about what may be President Biden's biggest legislative accomplishment so far and a test of his strength in the Democratic Party. We've been talking, of course, about the passing of the infrastructure bill with political commentator Stefano Da Fre. Thanks so much for sticking with us through that commercial break. Stefano, tell us why the bill is so important.
Well, it's extremely important, again, for educational regions, for broadband, bridging rural communities to obviously cities, helping businesses, minority businesses, but also, we have to think about how our aging infrastructure has come a long way, and we haven't really had an investment like this in a generation. President Biden is right that it's a once in a generation lifetime. The other thing that we have to bring up is that, you know, we know this from covering politics that the youngin winning in Virginia, the Republican winning in Georgia in the Virginia election of the gubernatorial race had an impact on the moderates and the moderate Democrats. It forced the moderates to have a legislative win. President Biden had already had the Senate pass this and now was waiting for the House to pass this, and it was stalled because they wanted to have it looped in with a second bill. So he needs wins. The Democratic Party needs wins to move forward, and that's going to happen through this legislative process to move forward. And, gauging the temperature of the country, I think he wants this right before the midterm so he has something to show for having both the executive branch, the Senate, and also the House of Representatives.
Yeah, absolutely. The timing is critical. But for the average person, they hear about things like bridges, roads, infrastructure. They get that. But when you talk about things like broadband, how does that affect people? I mean, does it mean we get free Wi-Fi because of this bill? We're hearing of these trillions of dollars. What does the average person get when it comes to things like broadband and things that are not tangible?
Well, it's a good question. The first thing is that updating the network. So we're on like an LTE 4G network. We would be updating to a 5G network. This would bring down the cost. The government would share in part of the costs into some of the suppliers like AT&T, Verizon, all these other things. So they would be putting money into this as well. The other thing is that it's going to require a lot of people to be involved. So these are going to be public works programs that will be paying union wage jobs. So this is an important thing because if you get a contract, let's say in your program where we just saw somebody in Louisiana, you would have the community partake and have higher wages and also not be held back by whatever level of education you have. Basic amounts of high school education that don't hurt people to have the debt of going into college. So this helps individual communities build these networks and then also profit from that by having them to use it as well for their businesses.
So we saw this being a bill that caused a lot of tension within the Democratic Party. This, of course, being a win. Still a few Democrats, of course, who voted against the bill. What does that say about the future, this infighting? Will that continue to be a problem?
It's a very delicate question because I think that Biden's approach was to try to have as many people under the umbrella and the tent of the Democratic Party to work together. I think that in good faith, he really wanted to have this, let's say, solid, concrete infrastructure of physical things with a social infrastructure package that has to do with, let's say, child tax credits and things that have to do with, let's say, community college or universal paid leave. I think that one of the challenges that the Democratic Party is going to have is what's possible. I think back to the Obama administration, and President Obama was very, very important in this aspect. Of course, the Affordable Health Care Act was not perfect. Bernie Sanders voted against it. There were many people that didn't like it on the left side of the party, but in the end, it was the clear path that he could get done. I think the Biden administration understands that with the midterms coming ahead, they have to get pieces of legislation that they know that they can do pass through and have a bipartisan aspect to it. There are bipartisan people on the Republican side in the House, 13 of them, and then also Mitch McConnell, who was part of it on the Senate side. So it shows that the appetite for progressives in the country is waning, and that the moderates are taking more hold of the Democratic Party.
Interesting, interesting. A lot more coming when it comes to those topics. Thank you so much, Stefano. We appreciate you joining us here on BNC as always. Take care.